sun begins to set over a sprawling city, casting long, amber shadows across a quiet office where a single figure sits, illuminated only by the soft glow of a computer screen. The air is thick with the scent of old paper and the hum of electronics, a silence that feels heavy with the weight of responsibility. This person, like so many others across the globe, carries the title of leader. Whether they are guiding a massive multinational corporation in Europe or organizing a small volunteer group in the home region, the burden is the same. The silent, pervasive expectation of perfection. There is a myth that has persisted for centuries, a tale whispered in boardrooms and etched into the minds of those who aspire to greatness. It is the belief that to lead is to be infallible, that a single crack in the armor of certainty will bring the entire structure of authority crashing down. This individual looks at a report on their desk, a document that proves a decision they made was flawed. The realization is a cold, sharp blade. It would be so easy to bury the report, to rewrite the narrative, or to find a convenient scapegoat. The temptation to maintain the facade of the all-knowing commander is a powerful force, pulling at the very foundations of their character. Yet, in this quiet moment, a different path begins to reveal itself. It is a path not paved with ego or the illusion of invincibility, but with something far more rare and potent. The story of leadership is often told through the lens of grand victories and unwavering confidence, but the true measure of a person's influence is frequently found in the moments when the lights go down and the mistakes are laid bare. As the city lights begin to twinkle outside the window, a fundamental question emerges, one that will define the trajectory of this journey. What happens when the one in charge is the one who is wrong? The answer to this question does not lie in the avoidance of error, but in the courage required to face it head-on. The silence of the office is not a void, but a space for reflection, a preparation for a transformation that few are willing to undergo. The journey toward becoming a truly successful leader does not start with a promotion or a new title. It begins with the humble acknowledgement that every thought, every action, and every word spoken up to this point has been a rehearsal for the leadership they are becoming today. The stage is set, and the first act is about to begin, not with a roar of triumph, but with the quiet, transformative power of a simple admission. Beyond the walls of that single office, the concept of leadership ripples outward, touching every corner of human existence. It is a force that knows no boundaries, manifesting in a myriad of forms across the American continent, through the bustling markets of Latin America, and within the historic corridors of England. It is seen in the parent who organizes a large, bustling household, balancing 1,000 different needs with patience and grace. It is found in the coach of a children's sports team on a Saturday morning, teaching not just the rules of the game, but the value of teamwork and resilience. It is present in the founder of a technology startup, working late into the night in a small garage, fueled by a vision that no one else can yet see. Leadership is the art of inspiring, organizing, and motivating, and its essence remains remarkably consistent regardless of the scale. The challenges faced by a member of an executive board in a global enterprise are not fundamentally different from those faced by a volunteer coordinator in a local community. Both must navigate the complexities of human emotion, the unpredictability of external circumstances, and the constant demand for direction. However, in the modern world, a peculiar crisis has begun to take hold. Governments struggle to find a clear focus, often failing to lead their own institutions, let alone the nations they serve. Companies of all sizes are forced to confront levels of competition and complexity that leave their management teams grasping for results. In the public sector, underfunded schools and overcrowded hospitals scream for a direction that seems perpetually out of reach. Even in the most intimate spaces, churches, community centers, and family units, scandals and conflicts serve as a grim reminder of what happens when leadership falters. The world is waiting, hungry for a different kind of example. People look for leaders they can admire, figures like famous entrepreneurs in England or local community pillars who inspire through their actions rather than their titles. They seek those who possess an arsenal of tools, habits, skills, and mindsets that are fully utilized rather than left to rust. Yet, many who find themselves in positions of authority cling to their weaknesses, allowing ego and fear to act as anchors that prevent progress. They forget that the journey of leadership is a continuous process of self-reflection and growth, an opportunity to ponder how they wish to be remembered by those they guided. The landscape is vast and filled with potential, but it is also littered with the remains of those who refused to evolve. As the narrative of this journey unfolds, the tension between the desire for power and the necessity of humility begins to mount, setting the stage for a deeper exploration of what it truly means to guide others through the storms of uncertainty. In the heart of this exploration are the individuals who have stepped into the spotlight, the ones who have accepted the mantle of responsibility. They are diverse in their backgrounds and their ambitions, ranging from the high-ranking officials of international organizations like the World Bank to the energetic leaders of local non-profits in India. Each one carries a dream, a vision of what they hope to achieve, and each one faces a unique set of hurdles. Among them is a leader who has spent years honing their professional persona, a person who has become a master of the articulate presentation and the decisive command. This individual is respected, perhaps even feared, but there is a growing disconnect between the image they project and the reality of their internal world. They have been taught that a leader must have all the answers, that showing doubt is a sign of incompetence. This philosophical perspective, while common, creates a profound internal struggle. The tension arises when the reality of human fallibility clashes with the rigid expectations of the role. This leader recently faced a situation where a team member offered a brilliant, albeit unconventional, solution to a persistent client problem. Driven by a need to maintain control and a belief in their own superior experience, the leader dismissed the suggestion, opting instead for a more traditional approach. The result was a disaster. The situation worsened, and the client's frustration boiled over. Now, this leader stands at a crossroads. The internal conflict is palpable, a battle between the ego that demands self-protection and the integrity that calls for accountability. This is the central problem that many leaders face, the inability to reconcile their humanity with their authority. They have an entire arsenal of tools at their disposal: empathy, communication, and strategic thinking. Yet they often leave the most important tool of all, humility, at the bottom of the chest. The story begins to move as this leader realizes that their refusal to listen was not a demonstration of strength, but a manifestation of weakness. The small development that signals a shift is not a grand gesture, but a quiet moment of honesty in front of a mirror. They recognize that they have been acting as a barrier to progress rather than a catalyst for it. This realization is the first step in a much larger journey of self-discovery, a process that will require them to dismantle the very walls they have spent years building. The path forward is no longer about maintaining an image, but about cultivating a character that can withstand the weight of the truth. As they prepare to step back into the office, the air feels different, charged with a new kind of energy. The decision to confront their own error is not just a personal choice. It is a declaration of the kind of leader they intend to become. As the leader moves through the following days, the consequences of their decision to dismiss the team members' advice begin to manifest in increasingly visible ways. The atmosphere in the office has shifted. There is a palpable sense of friction, a quiet withdrawal of the enthusiasm that once drove the team forward. The missed opportunity with the client has created a ripple effect, leading to missed deadlines and a general sense of malaise. The stakes are no longer just about a single project. They are about the culture of the organization itself. The leader notices that people are more hesitant to speak up during meetings, their eyes darting toward the floor whenever a difficult question is asked. This is the cost of an infallible facade. It silences the very voices that are needed to navigate complex challenges. The tension deepens when the leader is reminded of another oversight, a promise made to a senior director to provide critical information by a certain date. In the chaos of trying to fix the client's situation, that promise was completely forgotten. The mounting pressure is not just external, it is an internal weight that grows heavier with every passing hour. They find themselves in a meeting, insisting with uncharacteristic stubbornness that their memory of a previous action plan is the correct one, even as they see the subtle looks of doubt on their colleagues' faces. Later, when they finally check the records, they realize they were wrong. The realization is a sharp sting to their pride. The contrast between the leader they want to be and the person they are acting becomes impossible to ignore. This friction is not just a personal struggle. It is a narrative thread that explores the universal human tendency to protect the ego at all costs. The emotional stakes are raised when they consider the impact of their actions on a recent hire. They had insisted on a specific candidate for a promotion, ignoring the concerns raised by others about the individual's fit for the role. Now, that person is failing, and the necessity of a dismissal looms on the horizon. The leader is forced to confront the fact that their judgment was flawed, and the cost of that flaw will be borne by someone else. This realization propels the story toward a deeper level of accountability. It is no longer enough to just recognize the mistake in private. The situation demands a more profound response. The momentum of the narrative is building toward a moment where the leader must decide whether to continue the charade or to break the cycle of denial. The tension in the air is like a coiled spring, ready to snap at any moment as the leader prepares to face the people they have let down. The path they choose will not only determine the future of this project, but will also serve as a defining moment in their growth as a leader. The leader sits in a dimly lit conference room, the silence broken only by the distant sound of a clock ticking on the wall. This is a moment of deep reflection, a scene where the thematic symbols of leadership, the heavy mahogany table, the empty chairs, the half-filled water glasses, take on a new significance. Each object seems to reflect back the reality of the situation. That leadership is not about the trappings of power, but about the quality of the connections made within these spaces. They think about the times they have used their voice to drown out others, the times they have prioritized being right over doing what is right. The dialogue they have with themselves is vivid and unflinching, a search for the roots of their behavior. They realize that their reluctance to admit error stems from a deep-seated fear of being seen as unprepared or imprudent. In their mind, an apology is equated with weakness, a surrender of authority that would lead to a loss of respect. Yet, as they look at the empty chairs, they begin to see the irony of this belief. It is the refusal to apologize that is eroding the respect of their team. The emotional texture of this realization is complex, a mix of guilt, shame, and a burgeoning sense of clarity. They recall a conversation with a mentor years ago, someone who had led successful initiatives across the American continent. That mentor had once said that the measure of maturity is how one responds to their own mistakes. At the time, the words seemed simple, almost obvious, but now they resonate with a profound weight. The leader begins to understand that the true arsenal of a successful person includes the courage to be honest and the humility to be vulnerable. This intellectual progression is accompanied by a shift in tone, a move from the defensive posture of the past toward a more open and receptive state of being. They start to evaluate their own mindset, their hypotheses, and their biases. They recognize that their insistence on their own memory of the action plan was not about the facts, but about the need to be the one in control. The realization that they have been a victim of their own ego is a turning point. They see that the people they lead are not looking for a perfect figurehead. They are looking for a human being who is willing to acknowledge their flaws and work alongside them to find solutions. This subtle shift in perspective is the catalyst for a new way of acting. The leader decides that it is time to stop hiding behind the title and to start showing up as a person. They begin to plan how they will address the team, not with a list of excuses, but with a sincere and direct admission of their errors. The goal is no longer to save face, but to save the relationships that are the lifeblood of the organization. As they stand up to leave the room, there is a sense of inevitability, a feeling that the path they are now on is the only one that leads to true leadership. The decision to be honest is immediately met with a new complication: the fear of the actual act of speaking the words. As the leader prepares for the upcoming staff meeting, a wave of doubt washes over them. They worry about the reactions of their colleagues, the potential for judgmental whispers, the loss of influence, or the feeling of being exposed. This internal contradiction challenges the progress they have made. Part of them still wants to find a way to minimize the error, to frame it as a collective failure rather than a personal one. The temptation to shift the blame, even slightly, is a persistent whisper in the back of their mind. They consider the possibility that the team might not be ready for such a level of vulnerability. What if their honesty is seen as a lack of confidence? What if it creates more instability rather than less? This new layer of conflict tests the leader's resolve, pushing them to question whether they are truly ready to let go of the ego. The stakes are further heightened by a report from the HR department regarding the individual they had insisted on hiring. The situation has reached a critical point, and a decision must be made immediately. The leader realizes that their error has had a tangible impact on another person's career and the overall morale of the department. This is not just a theoretical exercise in leadership. It is a real-world crisis with real-world consequences. The tension is unresolved as they walk toward the meeting room, their heart pounding against their ribs. They see the team gathered around the table, their faces a mix of fatigue and skepticism. The air in the room is stale, heavy with the weight of the past few weeks. The leader knows that the next few minutes will be a test of everything they have learned. They are at the peak of their internal struggle, caught between the old ways of self-protection and the new path of integrity. The silence in the room as they take their seat is deafening, a vacuum that demands to be filled. They look at the team member whose advice they had ignored, and for a moment their eyes meet. In that glance, the leader sees not just frustration, but a flicker of hope, a desire for things to be different. This moment of connection is the final push they need. The complication is no longer an obstacle. It is the very reason they must speak. The unresolved tension of the situation propels the narrative toward its inevitable climax, where the words spoken will either bridge the gap or widen the divide forever. The leader takes a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on them as they prepare to open the meeting and face the truth. The atmosphere in the conference room is electric, a high-voltage stillness that precedes a storm. The leader's hands are steady, though their mind is a whirlwind of last-minute preparations and emotional focus. They have realized that the time for delay is over. The obvious errors are now visible to everyone in the room, and to continue the silence would be to abandon their integrity entirely. The pacing of the meeting is deliberate, every second feeling stretched as the leader begins to speak. They don't start with the usual agenda. Instead, they address the elephant in the room. They describe the client situation, the missed deadline, and the incorrect memory of the action plan. The stakes are palpable, the weight of these failures hanging over the group like a physical presence. The leader emphasizes that these were not just procedural mistakes, but failures of character and judgment. The intensity builds as they acknowledge the specific individuals who were affected. The team member whose ideas were suppressed, the director whose promise was forgotten, and the team as a whole that had to carry the burden of these errors. The meaning of the moment is crystallizing. This is not an exercise in self-flagellation, but an act of profound accountability. The leader's voice is calm but firm, a stark contrast to the defensive tone they had used in the past. They can feel the pressure mounting, the sense of inevitability that comes when the truth is finally allowed to breathe. The room is silent, the team members listening with an intensity that mirrors the leader's own. This is the approach to the turning point, the moment where the old narrative of the infallible leader is dismantled and replaced with something more honest and resilient. The leader understands that what is about to happen will redefine their relationship with every person in the room. They are no longer just a figure of authority. They are a person standing before their peers, admitting to their humanity. The sense of pressure is not just from the mistakes themselves, but from the enormous potential for transformation that this moment holds. They close this introductory phase of the meeting with a statement of intent, a promise that the next few minutes will be about making things right. The inevitability of the climax is now certain, and as the leader prepares to deliver the most difficult part of their message, the room seems to hold its breath, waiting for the words that will change everything. The moment of revelation arrives with a clarity that is almost startling. The leader stands up, a gesture that draws every eye in the room to them. They speak the words that they have feared for so long, the words that they once believed would destroy their authority. I was wrong. The admission is direct, without excuses or attempts to shift the blame. They explicitly acknowledge that they ignored a superior solution because of their own ego, that they failed to honor a commitment, and that their judgment regarding the recent hire was flawed. This is the climax, the emotional peak where the mask of perfection is finally discarded. The intensity of the sequence is felt in the collective exhale of the team, a release of tension that has been building for weeks. The leader continues, not just apologizing, but giving credit where it is due. They look at the team member they had previously dismissed and publicly thank them for their insight, admitting that the proposed solution was the correct one. They thank the colleagues who identified the errors, acknowledging their courage in speaking the truth. This turning point redefines the story's trajectory. It is no longer a tale of failure, but a narrative of restoration. The act of apology is not seen as a sign of weakness, but as a demonstration of immense strength and maturity. It is an act of courage and humility that resonates deeply with everyone in the room. In this space, whether it were a boardroom in England or a community hall in Latin America, the effect would be the same. The leader is no longer a distant figure on a pedestal. They are a part of the team, a human being who is committed to the collective success rather than their own image. The transformation is immediate and profound. The atmosphere in the room shifts from one of skepticism and fatigue to one of openness and renewed purpose. The revelation has cleared the air, creating a foundation of trust that can now be rebuilt. As the leader finishes their statement, there is a moment of profound transition, a movement from the chaos of the past toward a future defined by clarity and consequence. The act of admitting the error has not diminished their leadership. It has elevated it to a new level of authenticity. The climax is not an ending, but a new beginning, a shift in the story that opens up possibilities that were previously unimaginable. The immediate aftermath of the admission is a silence of a different kind. Not the heavy, expectant silence of before, but a quiet, reflective stillness. The leader sits down, allowing the weight of their words to settle in the room. They see the expressions on the faces of their team members changing, the lines of tension softening as the shock of the honesty begins to fade. The raw emotional shift is palpable. There is a sense of relief that the truth is finally out in the open. One by one, the team members begin to respond, not with criticism or judgment, but with a surprising level of support. The individual who had been ignored speaks first, acknowledging the apology with a nod of respect and a willingness to move forward and help fix the situation. The atmosphere is no longer charged with friction, but with a burgeoning sense of collaboration. The situational shift is dramatic. The barrier that had been separating the leader from the team has been dismantled. They are now working together to rectify the mistakes, discussing the steps needed to salvage the client relationship, and how to support the individual who was misplaced in their role. This is the first wave of consequences, not the loss of respect the leader had feared, but the restoration of trust. The pause that follows is a breath of space, a moment for everyone to process the magnitude of what has just occurred. The leader realizes that by being honest, they have given their team the permission to be honest as well. The culture of the office is already beginning to change, moving away from a place of fear and toward a place of accountability and mutual respect. They feel a sense of lightness that they haven't felt in a long time, the burden of the lie finally lifted from their shoulders. The immediate aftermath is a powerful reminder that the truth is a transformative force, capable of turning a moment of failure into a catalyst for growth. As the meeting draws to a close, the leader sees that the path ahead is still challenging, but for the first time, they feel they are not walking it alone. The weight of the events has settled, leaving behind a clear sense of direction and a renewed commitment to the journey of leadership. The pause is not a sign of stagnation, but a necessary moment of integration, a preparation for the deeper work that lies ahead. In the weeks that follow, the deeper consequences of the leader's admission begin to unfold. The process of rectifying the mistakes is methodical and collaborative, involving the input of the entire team. The client relationship is slowly being rebuilt, not just through technical solutions, but through a transparent explanation of what went wrong and a commitment to doing better. This transformation is not just external, it is a profound internal shift for the leader. They have begun to integrate the central lesson of this experience, that true leadership is rooted in integrity and the ability to learn from one's own biases. They spend time evaluating their decision-making processes, looking for the blind spots that led them astray. They realize that their insistence on being right was a symptom of a larger issue, a lack of trust in their own team. Now they are actively working to change that dynamic, creating spaces for brainstorming and open dialogue where every voice is heard. The emotional settling that occurs is a testament to the power of resolution. The leader no longer feels the need to protect their ego, which allows them to be more present and effective in their role. They have discovered that by being vulnerable, they have actually gained more respect than they ever had when they were trying to be perfect. The team, too, has undergone a transformation. They are more engaged, more creative, and more willing to take calculated risks, knowing that their leader will support them even when things go wrong. The lesson of the apology has rippled through the organization, creating a culture where accountability is valued over blame. This resolution is a seamless, natural transition toward a more sustainable and impactful way of leading. The leader reflects on the fact that they will never be perfect, but they can strive to be honest and courageous in their imperfections. They have learned that leadership is not a destination, but a continuous journey of self-improvement. The aftermath of the crisis has left them stronger, more resilient, and more connected to the people they guide. The story of this particular mistake has become a foundational part of their leadership narrative, a reminder of the importance of humility and the transformative power of the truth. As they look toward the future, they do so with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face the next challenge with the wisdom gained from the past. The journey of this leader, from the isolation of their ego to the strength of their vulnerability, offers a profound reflection on the nature of leadership itself. The threads of the narrative come together to reveal a coherent picture of what it means to lead with excellence. It is not about the absence of error, but about the quality of one's response to it. The philosophical significance of this journey lies in the understanding that character is the ultimate foundation of authority. A leader who cannot admit when they are wrong is a leader who cannot grow, and a leader who cannot grow is a leader who will eventually fail. The thematic landscape we have explored, from the individual office to the global stage, highlights the universal need for leaders who are honest, humble, and accountable. This is the arsenal of tools that every person has at their disposal, yet so few are willing to use them. The synthesis of this experience shows that an apology is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength and maturity. It is an act that builds trust, inspires loyalty, and fosters a culture of innovation and resilience. The broader meaning of the narrative is that leadership is a human endeavor, and its success depends on the ability to recognize and embrace our shared humanity. The reflection on this journey invites us to consider our own leadership, whether we are managing a team in the American continent or guiding a family in the home region. How do we respond when we are wrong? Do we hide behind our titles, or do we stand up and speak the truth? The idea that is now crystallizing is that the most effective leaders are those who are willing to be students of their own lives, constantly evaluating their thoughts, actions, and motivations. This synthesis prepares us for the final message of the story, a resonant idea that the true legacy of a leader is not found in their victories, but in the integrity and character they demonstrate through their challenges. The path to successful leadership is not paved with perfection, but with the courage to be honest in the face of failure. As we draw these threads together, we see that the journey of self-discovery and growth is the most important journey a leader will ever take, a journey that begins with a single, humble admission. As the final light of the day fades and the city below begins to settle into the quiet of the night, the leader finds themselves back in that same office where the journey began. This time, however, the silence is not heavy with the weight of a secret, but light with the clarity of a resolved heart. They look out the window at the endless horizon, a symbol of the infinite potential for growth and transformation that lies within every human being. The essence of the story is now clear. Leadership is not a role to be performed, but a life to be lived with integrity and purpose. The closing insight is a powerful reminder that every thought, action, and word has prepared us for the leadership we are today. We have learned that to admit when we are wrong is to claim a deeper kind of power, the power of authenticity and the strength of a character that does not fear the truth. This is the lesson that successful leaders carry with them throughout their lives, a guiding principle that shapes every decision and every interaction. It is a philosophy that transcends boundaries, applicable in every culture and every context, from the historic centers of Europe to the emerging markets of the American continent. The takeaway is simple yet profound. Keep your head high and be honest. Do not let the fear of embarrassment or the desire for respect prevent you from doing what is right. Your integrity is your most valuable asset, and it is the only thing that can truly build lasting trust and influence. Learn from your mistakes, evaluate your biases, and always be willing to listen to the voices of those you lead. The legacy of a successful leader is not written in the achievements they accumulate, but in the leaders they create and the impact they leave on the hearts of those they guide. As this narrative concludes, it leaves us with a reflective and inspiring message. The world does not need perfect leaders, it needs honest ones. It needs individuals who are brave enough to be human, who are humble enough to learn, and who are strong enough to admit when they have lost their way. This is the path to true excellence, a journey that continues long after the office lights have been turned off. May this story serve as a companion and a guide, a reminder that the most significant act of leadership you may ever perform is the simple, courageous act of saying, "I was wrong."